What's up everyone, JayzTwoCents here, and we're gonna do a talking head video, a very simple one with some important information that I wanna get out there. So I'm not gonna be adding music or transitions or any of that. So you don't even need to look at this, just minimize it and listen while you go on about your business, because this one's kind of important. This could affect all of us, especially moving into the future. Last Thursday while doing Tech Talk, Jerry and I reached out to the audience asking if there was any topics they wanted us to talk about before we signed off for the evening. And one user asked me, Jay, how do you feel about what Newegg is doing regarding collecting back taxes on sales for previous years? And I was like, what are you talking about? So we did a quick search. We couldn't really come up with any concrete information, but some of the users started telling us this was something going on in the state of Connecticut. Well, fast forward a few days, my inbox, my mailbox, my Twitter feed, everything blew up with people sending me links to articles and even links to pictures of the Connecticut Department of Revenue trying to collect back taxes from customers who bought product from Newegg. Now, there's a couple things we have to mention before we talk about what happened and what this means for the future. One, I'm not a CPA. I am not a tax advisor. I am not providing you any financial advice. I'm not providing you any tax prep advice. That is all between you and your tax preparers and your CPA. So do not take this video as an advice piece. This is nothing more than an informational piece. And now that I've covered my ass, we can talk about what has allegedly happened. And I'm gonna say that word a lot, because allegedly is important. That's a legal term. Allegedly, Newegg received a letter from the Connecticut Department of Revenue requesting user data from anyone who bought product from Newegg and had it shipped to the state of Connecticut. They requested that data for tax years 2014, 2015, and 2016. The only reason why I haven't collected 2017 yet is because technically those don't have to be filed yet. So what they're trying to do is recover a lot of the $70 million a year that the state of Connecticut estimates they lose for people not providing sales tax or use tax on their tax returns. What that means is if you buy something from out of state that does not collect sales tax, then you have to pay what's called a use tax on that. And that is based upon your state and its statutes. And because we have 50 states in the United States, there are going to be variations of how this is collected and what you're on the hook for. So that's why this is a very difficult video to see how it's gonna apply to all of you, simply because if you live in the United States or even a US territory, then it's going to be very, very convoluted trying to apply this to everybody. So that's why we're just sort of giving you a high level video here on what's going on. So back to what happened. Connecticut sent a letter to Newegg, a letter, not a subpoena. Now this is according to information I found online. This was not an official subpoena, which is required by court to send this information. The state of Department of Revenue simply asked Newegg, hey, buddy old pal, do me a favor. Send me all the user data for people who bought stuff in the state of Connecticut through Newegg online so that we can go and send them letters saying, hey, you owe us taxes. Or, now this is a big alleged here. I found multiple sources saying this, including some news articles that talked directly to the Connecticut Department of Revenue saying, or forget all that, just start collecting sales tax for stuff that gets sent to Connecticut. We'll call it even and it will take care of itself in the future. Well, apparently Newegg didn't want to set any of that up and didn't want to start collecting sales tax for the state. So they rolled and provide all of the customer data for those 3 years to the state of Connecticut, which then started sending tax collection letters to every customer who bought something from Newegg in Connecticut for those 3 years. Now, based on the letters people have been sending me, showing me with their name blurred out, but showing me all of the forms, I've seen dozens of these forms now, the state is collecting either $100, $300, in some cases a couple $1,000 from people running businesses and stuff out of Connecticut, buying stuff for their business through Newegg, now suddenly collecting taxes on that. Now, before we move forward, let's talk about the states that Newegg currently collects sales tax from. That being California, Washington, Indiana, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. That's more than likely because they have a nexus, or it means they have a location in that state. It doesn't have to be a brick and mortar, it doesn't have to be a store you can walk into and buy something. It simply means that company has a registered address in that state providing some sort of business. More than likely, these are their warehouses where they're shipping from different parts of the country. California is obviously where Newegg is based, so that one's pretty much a given. But if you live in those states right now and you buy something from Newegg, they're going to apply sales tax. And it's gonna be based on your current zip code. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a sales tax, a flat rate sales tax, and then each city or municipality can offer, or even county can have additional taxes on top of that. So here in California, it can range anywhere from 7.5% all the way up to 10.5%, depending on where. So you plug in your zip code, Newegg calculates it, it's based on where you live and where it's being shipped to, that's how tax is collected. Furthermore, there are states that actually require Newegg to supply the customer with a report of an annual report of what they purchased, because you are still on the hook for use tax, or the use tax is just another word for sales tax, where the state says, hey, you bought something from out of state, you owe taxes on what you bought, sales tax, and you're supposed to file it on your tax returns. That is pretty much what a use tax is. To put it into perspective, I bought my FS5 from a company in Oklahoma. When I bought it, they provided me with a tax form saying, here is your form for your use tax. And since that was bought through corporation, obviously that was all handled on the up and up. So the states that currently require Newegg to provide a report to the customer for their tax purposes is, let's see here, Colorado, Louisiana, Vermont, and Rhode Island. But it even goes a step further. Colorado specifically requires that Newegg not only send the report to the customer, but also to the Colorado Department of Revenue. So what that means is Colorado knows that you bought stuff from out of state and is expecting a use tax on your tax return, and that could potentially trigger an audit if you don't report it. If you live in Colorado, do me a favor, comment down below. Have you ever received that from Newegg? Have you ever received it from the state? I'm kind of curious. Rhode Island requires that you actually pay your use tax monthly. So instead of on the end of your annual tax return, they expect every single month that you fill out the form that's available at Newegg to then pay the use tax due on the 20th of every single month. So they obviously take it quite a step further. Now, what makes Connecticut kind of unique is, according to a Washington tax professional, Connecticut is the first state actually reaching out to retailers requesting the customer data. And that gives us now a branch in this argument versus ethics and legality on whether or not it's ethical for a customer data or information to be sent out via a retailer. So that's obviously a whole nother topic, a whole nother discussion that really has no bearing on today's video, but that's definitely where the fork in the road has been regarding the front of this particular argument. Now, the precedent that this sets is, one, Newegg was not required by law or by court to provide this information, although Connecticut could have probably subpoenaed Newegg, which then would have made it required. But Newegg just rolled and provided that information, which is why now approximately 3,000 of these tax collection letters have been sent out since February. Now, if you guys have received one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Suddenly you're hit overnight with like, wow, I owe $400. $400 I don't have, and I have till next week to pay it, or I'm gonna pay a penalty on it. Well, to be fair, to be honest, that is on you. You did owe it all along. Now, the difference is now Connecticut knows that you owe it, where the difference in the past was it was an honor system. You were required to report your earnings, but if you didn't report it, the state had no way of knowing. So Connecticut, being a very, we'll call it a poor state because it's not doing too well financially, is now sent out these letters to apparently over 150 online retailers. So if you bought stuff from Newegg, if you bought stuff from any online site, major site, let's say B&H Photo, let's say Adorama, if you've been buying stuff from these companies that have not been providing any of your use tax information, you very well could not be getting a letter just from Newegg, but you could be getting it from multiple sources, making a $100 or $200 tax bill now potentially thousands. Now again, this is one of those things where technically you were on the hook for that all along, and if you weren't reporting it, that's technically considered tax evasion. But usually we're talking very small amounts of money that usually was overlooked. But the problem is, as we move into this very online world, and people are conducting business from all over the world now, and you're never having to necessarily buy something from your own state, the states are hurting for this money, and now they're finding more creative ways to do this. And the precedent that's been set now is, because companies like Newegg have rolled over and provided that data, more states are going to follow. So expect this to happen more and more. Now, I don't know what the solution is going to be for those of you that owe the money. I mean, pay your taxes. That's all I can recommend. Pay it. Don't fight the state. The state has way more resources than you to fight that and win. If you don't have the money, work out an arrangement. That's what I would do if it was me. If I didn't have the money, I would work out an arrangement. Most states have payment plans and all of that stuff. But expect moving forward, as online retailers become more and more prevalent and become major retailers like Amazon, expect to pay and have these letters coming from the state that you might be considered blindsided. Now, most of the time on your state tax return, there's a line on there that states have, I purchased anything from out of state. You're supposed to add that up, and then it's like 6.5% or something, depending on the states that you live in. But here's a fun fact for you. If I was to hand Nick a $20 bill, would you like that?
Yeah.
You want 20 bucks?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll give you 20 bucks. Okay. But now you owe the government like 4 of it.
Why?
Because that's considered a transaction. And you owe taxes on pretty much any transaction. You go to Craigslist and you sell something. You take money. I sell Nick this piece of shit iPhone. He gives me 400 bucks. I'm supposed to pay taxes on that 400 bucks. That's the way it actually works. And that's the letter of the law. The letter of tax law states that. The problem is obviously nobody does that. And so you have billions of dollars across the country on the table that's not being collected. And states are now fighting to collect that money because they've lost the revenue. So, I mean, that's where we are with this. So expect when you buy something now from a company like Newegg or B&H Photo or these major retailers and you go, wow, this is tax-free. It was never tax-free, to be fair. It was never tax-free. It's just they had no way of knowing you bought it. But as long as the retailers are willing to roll over and just send them the information, then now they know. So you might want to expect in the future when you go and buy something online, because you could save $200 or $300 in sales tax, you're probably gonna owe it down the line. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. I don't know if I have any other notes here. That's what's happening here. It is, the forms that I'm talking about too with Newegg, they are available on their website, so you guys can go and find all of that. But yeah, that's where we are with this, and I wanted to get that information out there. I also wanted to talk about setting some of the facts straight. People were mad that Newegg wasn't collecting state taxes. Newegg, it wasn't up to them. They don't have to. That's the problem. They don't have to. Connecticut apparently offered them the ability to. They turned it down and chose to just send the data to the state and let the state go after the money. I don't know what the operating differences or costs would be for them to just collect it, but this isn't just Newegg involved, guys. Apparently Connecticut sent it out to over 150 retailers, and other states are going to follow suit because of the precedent that Newegg set. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go. Just wanted to do this video explaining some of what's going on. Again, consult your CPAs, consult your tax preps to find out what the laws are in your states and your counties. I'm not providing you tax advice or CPA advice. That is, again, on you. Pay your taxes. All right, guys, I'm gonna go. We've got a video coming up here. You guys have been suggesting and requesting forever that I finally build in the Loc Ghost S1. I will be doing a build in that, but it's not gonna be the fully custom water-cooled build that I promised. I'm doing that in a different version. In this case, they're sending a silver one with different top hats that I requested. This is like an early engineering sample. So that will be coming once that's available and fulfilled. They're still fulfilling orders on that. So I'm gonna go, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you guys enjoyed today's video. If you have any input on this, I'm curious, what are the laws in your states, and have you received a letter and you don't live in the state of Colorado, Rhode Island, or Connecticut? Have you received a letter from Newegg? If so, what did it say? Put it in the comments below. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the next one.